In this video, we will see the advantages of Python and program execution in Python. Means we'll see the very first program in the Python. Now to start with the advantages of Python. The very first advantage that Python provides is system programming. Now, Python is an idle language for writing portable, maintainable system administration tools and utilities. You can say that Python can be used for system programming since it is an idle language for writing portable utilities, and Python programs can search files and directories, launch other programs, do parallel processing with processes and threads altogether. Administration tools for sorting and registry databases can also be implemented, and it even has the administration tools for various types of databases. Next advantage that Python provides is GUI programming. Now, Python's simplicity and rapid turnaround makes it a good match for graphical user interface programming on the desktop. Therefore, Python comes with a standard object-oriented interface to the TKGUI API called as the Tkinter that allows implementation of portable GUIs with native feel and look. So that is the GUI programming that Python provides you. Now, the next advantage of Python is internet scripting. Now, Python basically comes with standard modules that allow Python programs to perform a wide variety of networking tasks in client as well as in the server modes. So, Python has the module for internet scripting also. Next advantage that Python provides is component integration. Now, Python's ability to be extended by and embedded in C and C++ systems, making it a useful glue language for scripting the behavior of other systems and components. Means Python can be used with the components of C, C++ and many other languages. Therefore, it stands out for component integration. The next advantage of Python is rapid prototyping. Now, Python at many places is also used as a prototyping tool because the code in Python is small and more readable, and Python mainly allows you to build prototypes very rapidly. Therefore, as I said, Python is small and readable, which allows you to build prototypes rapidly, and hence it can be used as a prototyping tool. So basically, prototyping here means that if you want to create the structure, or you say the outline for any particular project, or you can say an early sample model or release of a product built to test a concept or process, or to act as a thing to be replicated or learned from. Now, the next advantage that Python provides is numeric and scientific programming. Now, Python is also used heavily in numeric programming, which is a domain that would not traditionally have been considered to be in the scope of scripting languages, but it has grown to become one of the Python's most compelling use case. And Python comes with various built-in modules for the numeric and scientific programming such as NumPy, SciPy, SymPy, etc. By scientific programming, it means that it can perform the programs which include the scientific calculations such as DNA testing and other programs. The next advantage, or you can say the most major advantage that we'll be looking forward to, is the database programming. Now, Python provides interfaces to all commonly used relational database systems like Oracle, MySQL, Sybase, and SQLite, etc. And in our course, we'll be seeing the integration of Python with MongoDB, which is a NoSQL database. Now, program execution in Python means how do we actually execute a program in Python. Okay. Now, the very first thing about a Python program is that it is just a text file containing Python statements with any text editor. By convention, Python program files are given names with .py extension. Like here you can see the extension is m.py, where m is the name of your file. Okay. Now, After you've typed these statements into a text file, you must tell Python to execute the file, which simply means to run all these statements in the file from top to bottom, one after another. So when you instruct Python to run your script, there are a few steps that Python carries out before your code actually starts crunching away. Specifically, it's first compiled to something called a bytecode, okay, and then it is routed to something called a virtual machine, that is your PVM, that is your Python virtual machine. Okay, so this is how it follows up, that first of all you create the Python programs in a text editor with the extension m.py, or with .py is the extension basically. Then a bytecode is generated with the extension .pyc, and then it is taken to something called the PVM, that is your Python virtual machine. Okay, then it is brought to the runtime. Now let's understand what all these things actually mean, what all these terms actually do. Now, when we say bytecode compilation, see, internally and almost completely it is hidden from the user. So when you execute a program, Python will first compile your source code into a format known as a bytecode. That is here, which is your bytecode. So first of all, it is compiled to a bytecode, and then compilation is simply a translation step, and bytecode is a lower level platform independent representation of your source code. Then this bytecode translates is performed to speed execution as bytecode runs more quickly as compared to your source code. Now PVM, or you say your Python virtual machine, is actually the runtime engine of Python. This is your runtime engine of Python as mentioned here. Okay, and it is always present as a part of Python system, and it is the component that truly runs your script. So technically it's just the last step, which is called the Python interpreter. So this step will be called your Python interpreter, right? Therefore, you must keep in mind that all this complexity is deliberately hidden from the Python programmers, like bytecode compilation is automatic and the PVM is just a part of the Python system that you have installed on your machine. Again, programmers simply code and run files of statements, and Python handles the logistics of running them. That means the programmer just creates a .py extension file and he executes it, and the rest of the processes like bytecode compilation and the runtime processes, they are done by Python itself. Okay, so this is how Python's runtime execution environment is created, and this is how programs are executed in Python. Now, Python IDE. Now, IDE is basically the integrated development environment, which is used as the code editor, including a series of peripheral components and attachments. Okay, now IDE is basically used as the code editor, including a series of components, as I told you. And the most important feature of the Python IDE is that it offers a variety of language specific shortcuts. Okay, and the IDE that we will be using is Python IDLE. Okay, and the IDLE actually comes by default with Python setup. You just need to initiate it, which can be done using search or the command line. Okay, means the IDLE that we are using, it actually comes by default when you install the Python setup on your system, and it gets initiated on the very first go when you search for it or when you run it on the command line. Okay, now let's see what is the Python IDLE. So IDLE basically has the following features, like it is coded in 100% pure Python. It is cross-platform, means it can work on Windows and Unix. And this is how your Python IDLE or your Python shell looks like. Okay, you can see here, it tells you that which Python version you are using, right? It tells the date, okay? It tells the copyright credits also. And here I have printed a program, hello world, okay, and it prints that, right? So we'll see this now. That is how to execute the very first program in Python in the hands-on session. So first of all, you need to open up your IDLE, right? So this is how your Python shell or your Python IDLE looks like. Okay, this tells your version here. version of Python, right? So what we'll do, we'll simply write here, the very first program is print hello world. Okay, so here you can just run the program. All right, so here you see, as I press enter, the program runs here. Okay, but if you want to run this program in a particular, using a particular file editor, what you can do is you can click on file. Here you get the option of new file. Okay, you click on it and this text editor opens up. Okay, so here if you want to type print hello world. Okay, so like this is my program file. Okay, you need to save it, right? So here you will have to save it. You need to give the file name. Like for example, if I write here for the first program, okay, so I'll write first.py, right? The most important thing is the extension .py. Okay, you click on save, right? Your program has been saved. Now you can run it from here. Okay, and your output will be displayed in the Python shell. You see here your output comes here, right? So this is the very first program that you write in Python, that is the hello world, and this is how the Python ideally or the Python shell works.